Good afternoon, and welcome to Memphis Like Gas and Water's Water System Status Update Press Briefing. Questions today will come primarily from our media. Our guests today are President and CEO, J.T. Young, Nick Newman, who's the Vice President of Engineering and Operations, and the City of Memphis's Director of Public Works, Robert Knecht. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
So, JT, we'll start with you.
Great. Thank you very much, Gail. We appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us today. And those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live, we appreciate you being with us as well. I start off by, again, acknowledging and thanking everyone for their patience as we work through these last several days. We have certainly had a lot of a challenge there to deal with, but I will say that we've got great news today. We are seeing significant improvement. You know, I've been trying to use the analogy of a patient that was really in critical condition earlier this week. We transitioned a little bit yesterday, probably to progressive care. The patient is now at a point where they're stable. We're seeing stability around our system with regards to water pressure. So if you think about it from the patient analogy, they've been moved to their room, they're up, they're walking around. The patient hasn't yet been discharged, but it's about to be right there, doing much better. We are now in a status green as we went from red in a few days and yellow yesterday. Now we moved to green. Of course, Nick Newman will give you some more details on what that really means. He will also talk to you a little bit more about some of the testing that's going on, as we've been trying to talk about over the last few days, the process of moving out of the boil water advisory situation, and Nick will touch on that for you as well. So a lot of folks have been working hard. I know that Robert and his team at the city have been doing a number of things on their side as well from a public works standpoint, all for the betterment of for getting things done and back to operational status here in our community. So with that, all of our pumping stations now are operating in a green status, but I'm going to let Nick, he's going to show you probably an additional visual that we've not been able to show until now, but I'm going to let Nick go ahead and give you some more details on where we are. Nick.
Thanks, JT. So y'all have seen this daily update. We've kind of discussed, as JT just said, we are in a green status. Our pumpage yesterday was 161,000 average for the entire week. But if you'll see how our pumpage over the last 3 days has reduced, we attribute that to fixing broke water mains. And a large portion of that is also cutting off broke lines and cutting the water off to broke lines and customers and businesses around Shelby County. So we'll continue doing that. So if you look at our total for main breaks, we're at 103. So I'm going to show another slide in a minute that kind of breaks down a little bit more. You may see a little bit different number, but I can explain that to you. A well production, we actually added a well online, but then we ended up have issue with another well, so we had to shut it down. Look at the, like JT said, all of our pumping stations are up. We're able to move water, maintain pressure throughout the system. We're back in our operation limits as far as pressure goes throughout the system, with the exception of a few issues around that we are working with. So if we move down here to our cutoffs for service cutoffs, we're up to 4,424. And we did 570. As of today, we're those numbers are kind of backing off a little bit on those numbers. So we are seeing a reduction in those cutoff, asking us to shut their services off so that they can get their water leaks fixed. So our customers are responding to cutting the water off, getting their leaks fixed, and turning their water back on. We still need help with that. We still estimate we're losing a lot of water, around 25 million gallons a day through those leaks through customer services. And then add on top of that, the broke water mains, because we're still substantially higher than our average demand for this time of year. So JT talked about you guys have asked, and I apologize, this is like a little bit stretched, but you guys have asked about main breaks, where they are throughout our district. So this kind of gives you a visual on where the main breaks have occurred. We've had 119, and I'll explain the difference in just a minute. We've completed 98, and 21 of those are in different stages of restoration. A lot of them are probably already completed. Like I said, we got 10 today that we're working on. The others, it's just the lagging of getting the paperwork essentially getting cleared in the system. But we are keeping up with our main breaks. We feel like we're doing a good job. Our distribution is doing a good job with those. They are keeping up with them and getting the water cut off quickly to keep the pressure up. But that is kind of a visual. We've been asked a couple of times about where the main breaks are occurring. And I know it's kind of small, but it kind of gives you a distribution throughout Shelby County where they broke. Like JT said, we're confident that the system pressures, customers should be experiencing great pressures today. He said we have started our regulatory compliance sampling, and we're in the process of that, getting those samples in, getting them tested. And I think I've explained that procedure, how it has to go through processing of 16 to 24 hours. And then we work with the state to make sure the data that we have that David talked about yesterday meets the compliance with the state. And then we should have some good news soon. That's all I have.
And thanks, Nick. One other thing I'll mention, we do want to make sure, and Gail will probably help remind us of this before we're done. But if anyone is in a situation where you have no water at your home or business and you have not called us to disconnect your water line, but you're experiencing no water, please call in, and Gail will give you the numbers there in just a little bit and let us know, because we want to make sure that while we know there are certain locations, premises where we have leaks, as you saw the numbers, about 4,400 of those primarily we've taken care of, but there may still be, undoubtedly there's still other areas where we've got some issues. But so if you don't have water, or we know that there's going to be variations in pressures, you may see some of that going on as things keep building up. But certainly if you don't have any water at your home or business, we do need to know that, so that, because we believe we're at a point now, as you heard Nick say, where we've got stabilizing pressures across the system, and we should be in good shape. And we're looking forward to we're in our first full day. We did some testing late yesterday, doing more testing today, looking to work with the state late this evening, early tomorrow, and we'll have more information on the boil water advisory after that. So with that, Gail or Robert, whoever you want to go to.
Robert, do you want to give us an update on where you are with the city?
Yeah, I have I thank you, Gail, and thanks, JT and Nick. I wanted to first do a couple of things. I really want to thank MLGW for its wonderful partnership. We most people don't realize that sewer and water are connected. Your sewer fees, your sewer costs are directly related to your water use. So we obviously are working with our field team, our staff, to evaluate where we have seen issues in the water system and getting into our sewer system and communicating that. So we're doing a numbers of things with our personnel to help MLGW water staff identify where these issues may be, to the degree possible, may be occurring, so we can share that. And also, as a customer, our wastewater treatment plants utilize water for numbers of different reasons. Early on, we saw pressures dropping at our plants, and we were having to curtail operations that are dependent on water to ensure that we could try to maintain some service level, because our wastewater treatment plants are very instrumental, obviously, in providing a very important function to our citizens and our city. I communicated that to Nick and the team, and they were quickly working to help resolve that and helping to understand the importance of getting water services and the pressures back up to our treatment plants so that we could resume services, resume those operational functions. And they did that very quickly, understanding the challenges that we're all facing, but also helping the commercial industrial customers like this wastewater treatment plants come back online and being ready to resume full services. So I really want to commend the MLGW MLGW and the team for helping us with that challenge, in addition to everything else that they're doing. And yes, we're working together on numbers of things, and I'm glad that the Public Works team is, as I've said, is transitioned to a number of different responsibilities, to potholes and getting our other services. Street sweeping, we have to remove a bunch of debris because we put a bunch of salt and sand down on the street. So street sweeping activities are up. So I'm glad to participate. But again, thanks to the MLGW team for all they've done to help ensure our facilities are up and running as quickly as possible.
Well, and I do want to add to what Robert just said. Thank you, Robert, for you and your team. We had to have roads cleared for our crews to get to a number of different locations all across this community, and your team, along with others, but your team in particular, certainly around the Memphis area, did a great job early on when we had to get to locations. You guys made it roads passable and helped us to get around. So we really appreciate that, as well as all the other great things that you all have been doing. So thanks again for the partnership and for your help. So Gail, if you want to.
Well, I do have a question. Robert, you mentioned that the sewage cost is tied to water usage. Could you further explain that?
Yeah, so most residents, most people don't understand that everybody is charged a sewer fee. Most people are charged based on their water use. Now, most residents, it's a very general cost because it's based on typical water use, so it's a flat fee. But there are a lot of industrial and commercial customers that it is strictly based on how much water they use, and that's correlated to their sewer fee. So if you never really understood that, there's a calculation that's done that shows how much you will be charged as sewer rate or your sewer fee based on how much water you've consumed. And that's been the practice, for many cities for a long, long time. But it just explain that, in the fact that there's such a correlation between the two, that we would, we will probably see maybe some adjustments on our sewer fees because there was a lot less water usage this last week. So we'll have to see what that means in terms of our sewer fees. But mostly it's just understanding the relationship between the two.
Okay, so I do have one other question. So we did have a number of customers who used more water because of the leaks. So should they expect to see an increase in their sewage fee because of that?
So if there is a relationship, usually we work with the water team on MLGW to understand if it was a break in service, just like you would do, to determine if it was something of unnatural nature that didn't end up in the sewer. That would be something that we typically work with MLGW on to determine if it was an actual water use that became into our sewer system, or if it was an extraneous water line breakage that did not end up in our sewer, because we can take that into account, just like MLGW would take that into account.
Well, I thank you very much for explaining that, because once customers start receiving their utility bills and if there's an increase in the sewer costs, we will at least be able to explain that. I appreciate that greatly. So we will start with Caitlin McCarthy.
Hey everyone, it's Caitlin McCarthy from Local 24 News. So my question is, how is MLGW planning in case another extreme weather situation happens like this? I know this is unprecedented, but is this built into that 5-year plan? And do you all have an estimated cost yet about how much these repairs from this extreme weather have cost MLGW?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Caitlin. So we, of course, never can know exactly what the full impact will be of a weather event. Certainly not one like we just experienced. That one was one, my understanding, for the record books. So we will do our best. And as you know, the 5-year service improvement plan that we have has a lot of infrastructure improvements and upgrades built into it over the next 4 to 5 years that we will be rolling out, that we believe will be helpful. But again, I say that, you never know what the next situation will be like, nor will you know what impact it may have on our system. But it did test the resilience of our system. And as you know, our pumping stations and even some of our wells our pumping stations themselves, or many of them are older. And we have a lot of wells that are beyond their useful life. And I give kudos to our team, our water crews, and all the folks in engineering operations around it that work on our water systems, for doing all that they've done to get the maximum production out of those facilities. And then for our crews that have worked, that are distribution crews that work on our main breaks and ruptures on our water mains, they've been doing a great job and will continue to do so. We've estimated right now about so far about $3.6 million. Now we are not done yet. We don't know, that number may go further north in terms of costs associated with this, but stay tuned and certainly we'll keep everybody apprised of that.
Did that answer all of your questions, Caitlin?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, we will move to Greg Coy with Fox 13.
I don't know who can answer these. I have two questions. One is, we got a call from a viewer that said that they had not had received any water in North Shelby County area from Bass Road to New Bethel Road. Hadn't had any water since February 16th. They just got water, thankfully, about an hour ago. What caused the problem in that area? And once the boil water advisory is lifted, will there be a delay in communities like that to use tap water without boiling it? So first question is, and I do have a follow-up from Mr. Knecht about the North Shelby County area from Bass Road to New Bethel Road. Didn't have any water for 9 days. What caused that problem?
Yeah, Nick, you want to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so in the northern part of the county, that area is a higher pressure zone. It's a higher elevation, and what happens is when you can't get the pumpage rate back up to those higher elevations, it takes longer to get the water there. So yeah, yesterday so when our system started stabilizing, we were able to start sending water out there. But I'm kind of surprised they just got it today, because we've had crews out all day actually doing pressure ratings on fire hydrants in that area, as well as further north in that area. So I've taken notes. We will check in that and see what happened. But from our test and all our pressure tests, we started filling the tanks out in that area last night and this morning. But that's why it took longer to get pressures to all those areas in the northern part.
And regarding, Greg, regarding your question around testing, Nick can probably elaborate on this as well. But the point that we made earlier in the week and have tried to consistently make is that process for lifting the boil water advisory will hinge upon those tests that are being done now. And you can't really get the adequate testing done until you get as we are now, getting all the pressure stabilized. So we're beginning that testing now. To the extent that the north end was a little bit delayed in getting pressures up to where we could get the testing done, that may be a bit of a delay. We'll see. Nick, you want to add anything else on that?
No, that's it. We've been doing extensive testing in that area as well as throughout Shelby County. But as JT said, we were a little bit delayed in that area, being able to start our testing due to the fact that we couldn't get the tanks full because of pressure and get the pressure sent out to the end of the line. So that's correct.
Okay, I have a follow-up, if I may, Gail. I'm sorry, we had bad Wi-Fi connection. I think I lost some of your response, Mr. Young and Mr. Newman, but I think you got it. You said that the issue was high elevation and trouble getting out there. Is that correct?
Yeah. So yeah, when you do pumpage, it takes longer to get to the higher elevations than it does the others. So that's accurate. And the further that you get away from pumping stations, of course, you get and I can get real technical on this, but your pressures will drop as they get further away from the station. So people that are on the way outskirts of our pumping stations, it takes longer to get the water. It's more difficult to keep the pressures up. So that's why they lost it first, unfortunately, and we're the last to get it.
Okay, my next question is for Mr. Knecht. Mr. Knecht, I want to ask you about another issue not related to this, but this seems like the only opportunity to get a response from you on camera. Mr. Knecht, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Greg.
What's up with the new technology that you hired, that you contracted out to get potholes identified using MATA as well as solid waste trucks? Is that system up and working right now? Is it recording potholes and being sent to you so you can be more efficient and have more and be able to fix those potholes on the road, sir?
So I said I responded to this, and this was an email that Greg sent to me about a question about pothole detection. We have been working with Google Cloud for a little while on a pothole detection model. The model itself is up and working, but the problem we have is that the cameras that we've been using are not producing high enough quality imagery to be reliable. So the model it's not working the way we need it to work in order to use the information to address potholes. So we met with Google several times since we learned this. We've been evaluating a number of different camera options and ways to make the cameras work as we need them to work, so we can have make the full production, a full capability of the detection model work as we want it to. So it's taken some time because we went through and evaluated quite a few different platforms, different camera types, different camera solutions, how to use that camera information, how to to integrate it to the model. It's taken some time since then to come to some solution. We have since identified a solution. We are going to be purchasing those cameras. We're going to be going through different phases to put them on vehicles and get more vehicles out there to use the model, but it's going to take a little more time to accomplish that. And then, we hope then with newer cameras and better cameras to also explore some other options, some other types of tools with Google that we're going to talk about later. So it does work. The problem is it's not reliable as is now. We need better cameras, more cameras. So that's what we're going to move forward with in order to make it as a functional tool that it would help Public Works use.
Okay, so are there any
So this is
other,
a question, Gail, just one quick follow-up.
okay,
Just one quick follow-up, Gail, if I may. Mr. Knecht, does that mean the cameras are working, yes or no, as we speak?
The cameras we have, there are cameras, but they don't provide the quality we need. So it does work, but it doesn't produce reliable results. So we can't use it we can't use it until we get better cameras.
is anything else, Greg? Okay, are there any other questions? I don't see any other hands up.
Yes, Bill Dries with the Daily Memphian.
Okay, Bill.
Hey, President Young, could you talk more specifically about what happens in the late evening or early tomorrow? Is that when you send the water samples you have to the state? And are you able to get those samples now with the pressure where it is?
Yes, so the latter part of your question, absolutely yes. We actually started taking samples, I think late yesterday. Nick can talk about that more. And we're sampling today. And there's a waiting period. There's a period of time, as we talked about earlier, for that. But we plan to be, and Nick, you can correct me, if not late this evening, early tomorrow, trying to be in contact with the state regarding the samples that we've taken. Now, some of those may not be representative of the entire county, but we're going to begin because we want to lift the advisory as soon as we can, where we can. And so that's our objective. But Nick, you may want to address that.
Sure. So yeah, Memphis has our own water quality lab. So we are able to take those samples ourselves. We have our own lab who tests those samples, gets the results, and those are the results. So we're really lucky that we have that here in Memphis, that we can do our own sampling. And so that will speed the process up as well, rather than having to take the samples, send them off to an outside lab and have an outside lab evaluate that and move it on. So that is speeding the process up. But yeah, we started our regulatory sampling yesterday. And so we'll get some of those results today. And then we got some additional sampling we need to do today, and some of the areas where we had some pressure challenges, as well as some other areas that we felt like we needed to do some additional sampling. And we should have the results for them tomorrow. Now, I don't know what time. It's going to be depending on what time we can get the samplings in the incubator. And those have to, as I say, bake, which is probably not the right terminology, for 16 to 24 hours to get the results from those bacteriological samples.
And just to follow up, is it possible that when the advisory is lifted, that you could lift it for some of the light gas and water coverage area, but not the entire area?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. That's true. And just a reminder, Bill, you didn't ask this, but I'll use this as an opportunity. We are still in the boil precautionary advisory. Even when it's lifted, it's likely that we're going to still ask our customers to conserve because we still have, as we talked about earlier, leaks on mainly property leaks, but some mains as well that we're dealing with. So we're going to still request our customers to conserve water, even once the boil water advisory is lifted. That's going to probably be the case.
And how are people responding to the conservation? Are you seeing people saving on the water?
That's
What the numbers look like, Nick?
well, it's honestly, it's kind of hard to tell because we have so many leaks on customer side. So you can't differentiate if a customer is curtailing because our numbers are super high, but that may not be because the customers are curtailing. That may be that we have, and we know we have a lot of customers broken lines on their side that aren't being repaired. And that's causing the number to look like no one's conserving, but it could actually be attributed to broken lines that is being metered on the customer side. I hope that made sense.
Does, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Hey there, this is Christopher Blank with WKNO. I'd like to know, when you look at that map of where the water main breaks are and how they're spread out, do you just see this as random happenings, or did you notice any patterns, or did anything jump out at you as areas to look at in the future?
Not as of yet, because we're still in the restoration efforts, but absolutely, we'll have our entire team will get together after this. We'll evaluate all the data. We'll evaluate the pumping station data as well as the main break data, which we do anyway. We track our main breaks throughout the year, and we track, and there's all kinds of metrics that we use to say, hey, this pipe has got so many breaks per mile. We need to look into possibly replacing it or digging it up and looking at it and see what's going on with it. So yeah, we're not yet, because we're still in the crux, still getting this thing wrapped up. But after this, there will be evaluation to see if there's some areas that we need to probably look at some main replacement, and other areas that we think are in better shape. But don't get confused that it looks like everything's all clustered within the parkways. Well, we have a lot more facilities in there, and when you get further out, of course, it's more rural. It's less lines, it's less streets. So that's why all that data of the broke mains inside the city, which is our older infrastructure as well. So there's several factors.
And also, I know this is still a little bit early on, but as you guys are looking at what happened and how this winter storm hit the city, what are some of the lessons that you're sort of taking from this early on, things that you need to learn from, or what you're already talking about you need to do in the future to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Again, we're still in an emergency situation, so we're still trying to assess what we got going now. We will have a team to do exactly that. We can come back later with results of what we found. But yeah, we've definitely had some lessons learned. I've got several pages of lessons learned that we need to discuss and evaluate. We're not in that process until we get pressures stabilized, get less leakage on our system, and all the other factors involved with this crisis.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, I guess I'll make a few announcements before we leave. Disconnects for non-payments are suspended to further notice. Also suspended are disconnects for failure to return a service agreement. Extended payment plans customers can apply for through March 31st, and they will have up to 12 months to pay their bill. That means they have until March 31st, 2022 to pay their bills. We also have a program called On Track, which allows customers more time to pay their bills. They must have a minimum balance of $600, and they must be approved to be put on that program. And the number for that program is 528-4820. We are still in the conserve water mode. And we still are asking our customers to boil their water for at least 3 minutes before using it for food consumption. And I think that's pretty much it. JT, Nick,
Yeah,
you have,
just a quick reminder, again, thanks to everyone for their patience. We're we're in the home stretch here, which is great news. So many folks have worked hard this week, countless hours, and we understand the challenges that our customers face. That's why we've been so diligent about trying to do this the right way. We want to make sure that when we are back up and running and we lift the advisory, again, we've in all that we've done so far, we've still not found any contaminants. We still see the system, getting back to, the healthy nature that it needs to be. You heard Gail talk about the opportunity for working out billing arrangements. We continue to remind customers, we do that all the time. We're asking for this particular situation, since we're in the emergency mode now, that you wait until Tuesday, March the 2nd before calling on billing arrangements. So give us a little time to get out of this, and then we'll be glad to help customers in whatever way we can, as we always do. And that one particular one that you mentioned with the 12-month option is just one of many that we offer. So customers that can take up to 12 months on that plan, but we have other plans as well. So again, thank you for your patience and again, your questions. We will seek to continue to keep you all apprised of where we are. This is probably the most optimistic that I've been all week. And I owe a lot of that to Nick and his team of so many others around our system who've been doing just a 24/7 job of trying to make sure we get this right. So I also want to thank Robert again for all the work that you and your folks are doing and have done, working in tandem. Just a great team effort. And we're excited about the track we're on right now. We're very, very blessed. So thank you, Gail. I'm done.
I do have one other thing. We have the dashboard that Nick presents on the press briefing every day. That you can find that on the MLGW.com website. We try to update it every day. And so other information that you need or want regarding where we are, the status of us with our water operations, please check our social media platforms, our MLGW.com site, and come to us. And the media has been doing a good job of updating our customers with the facts. So please, get the facts and accurate information from MLGW and the media. Thank you so very much for being with us today.
Thank
Gail?
you.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to make one thing before I leave. Sorry, you mentioned sewer fees. I would encourage everybody to look at their bill, as you said, JT, and coming to the March to make sure that there's no overbilling. As I stated, your billing is based on water use. I mentioned residential. I think we have a cap based on how much water, but if someone sees a $50 or $75 sewer fee and knowing that they didn't use that much water, then definitely let us know so that we can work to clarify and get that taken care of, as you mentioned, JT.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And exactly right. And just a reminder, Gail, you may have mentioned this, but just a quick reminder, we do work with customers on the water piece of the bill and are able to make a one-time adjustment when we notice that really, something odd in the billing. So we'll be glad to do that again starting next week. So.
And
thank
so
you.
I also need to point out that the sewer fee is on the MLGW bill, and it is a separate fee from your water usage. So that's what Robert is talking about. If you feel your sewer fee on there is too excessive, then you need to make a call. Is there any number that they need to call, Robert?
311.
311. Okay.
There may be a number on the MLGW bill too, I think directly to sewer building, but if they call 311, we can take care of it.
Okay, all right, but so I'm sure once this is behind us, we'll get a lot of calls on the water portion of the bill. So, all right, anything else, anyone, before we depart?
Just make sure you give us a call if you don't have water, and we'll make sure we can get you taken care of. Thanks.
Tell them that number to call, because there's an emergency. There's an emergency number we have for that.
Yeah, 528-4465.
There you go. All right.
Okay, so Nick, we still are asking customers if they see water coming out the ground, out the homes or businesses, they need to also call our emergency number, right?
That's correct.
We're still doing leak identification. Okay.
That's correct. Thanks, Gail.
All righty. Anything else? Any other No other hands? All right, we're out. Thank you, everyone.